now I would like to hand over to our second keynote speaker, Gautam Pillai from Pillai. And Gautam is an equity research analyst covering the fintech sector. So Gautam, if I hand over to you, please.
Afternoon, everyone. And it was very interesting when Matt commented about the doom and gloom of the fintech sector, which I kind of read almost every day in my day job. So I joined Peel Hunt after spending 12 years around the corner in Goldman Sachs. So I joined Peel Hunt in 2022, mid-2022, and I launched the franchise in early 2023. The launch report entitled Fintech is a New Internet, because we saw a lot of parallels with what happened in 2022 or late 2021, 2022, when the sector kind of a bubble burst, like most people say, to the dot-com bubble of the 2000s. So both kind of had a lot of companies which had a lot of fast money running on it, significant investments on weaker business models, but the dot-com bubble basically kind of killed a lot of the weak business models, without the companies could not survive. If you think from the 2 decades post-2000, you look at Google, Facebook, Amazon, all the biggest companies in the world have been driven by the internet. So I really strongly believe that fintech as a sector will become a massive force in the markets in the next 10 to 15 years to come. Now to perhaps talk about UK as a fintech hub. I have some stats which I wrote down on the way in. So the Pillai, which is basically a open banking provider, they say that 84% of UK consumers used some sort of fintech solution in 2022. And this is not just the consumer alone. Something like 76% of SMEs believe that invoice financing tools have greatly benefited their businesses. 37% of SMEs believe that alternative lenders have made it easier to access funding. So the demand for fintech in the UK has been significant, and I think will continue to progress further. Now, why is that the UK has such a massive penetration in fintech? I believe that the quality of offerings which we have in the market is quite superior to some of the other kind of geographies we operate in. And UK continues to produce world-leading, high-quality unicorns and decacorns, if you like, from like Wise to WorldPay, Revolut, Checkout. There are plenty of companies which someone can hang their hat on to be like leaders in each of the individual segments. The number of companies in the UK, the fintech sector, has been growing significantly as well. I think Deloitte has a report which says that there are, in the last decade, the growth in fintechs in the UK has been growing at 20% per annum. Right now we stand at somewhere around 2,500 companies in the fintech sector. Less than 1% of them are publicly listed. So the opportunity for companies to grow and thrive in the market, and not necessarily everyone will come to the public market, but the opportunity continues to be there. Where are we in the fintech circle? So apart from the doom and gloom which you read in the newspapers and everything, if you think about fintech as a sector, as a concept, I would say that it really got industrialized post 2010. While it existed from before, but the number of companies in the market, the funding, everything kind of post the global financial crisis when this really kind of took off as a sector. And why did it take off is mainly because of very sustainable business models with high margins, predictable kind of revenue streams, and also technological advancements. But interestingly, if you draw a line looking at the equity market performance of the fintech sector versus global tech, which is probably the best performing sector in the last decade, fintech has outperformed the global tech index in the last decade. Not necessarily the last 2 years, but definitely the last decade since 2014. Now I mentioned earlier there was a massive influx of fast money low quality funding which came into the market, in the sector, which probably created a bubble. It is completely dried up now. There is still competition for good deals, but that is kind of on merit rather than in terms of more money coming, or supply of funding rather. So the average multiples in the fintech sector is at the lowest in the last decade. Now that creates massive opportunities to invest in public markets, or also in private markets, because a lot of the private market investors look at public companies as the benchmarks when they do investments. Lastly, while I'm fascinated by the different subsectors in fintech, I would probably highlight 3 themes which come across my desk on a daily basis. First is the impact of the interest rate cycle. Now obviously the current rates have had a significant impact on fintech companies and how they run their businesses. As I mentioned earlier, it's probably beyond 2010 when the industrialization of fintech happened. So the majority of these startups in fintech operated in a very low interest rate environment, which completely shifted in the last 18 months. So the companies had to adapt to a high interest rate environment, which probably elevated costs of managing cash, and generally they had to kind of change their business plans and such. But 2 sectors probably benefited significantly from this high interest rate environment. One is the neobanks, and second is cross-border payments. So neobanks like Zopa, Revolut, Starling, Oaknote, the UK neobanks have all experienced significant tailwinds from a higher NIM, net interest margin environment, which they believe will kind of continue in the future. And secondly, cross-border payments, companies like Wise and Alpha Group, which is one of my clients, they started to see a significant influx of net interest income or customer balances, which they can keep and earn, significantly improve their profitabilities. So that's the first thing I wanted to mention. The second is PayTech. Now PayTech continues to see disruption. So PayTech is probably one of the most mature industries in fintech. 66% of listed fintechs are PayTech companies. You can go from anywhere. Obviously, WorldPay is no longer a listed company, but you have Adyen and the likes of global payments in the US, and plenty of them around the globe. We continue to see significant disruption happening in fintech, especially coming from emerging markets. And emerging markets are leapfrogging Western counterparts in terms of tech disruption related to payments. To give some stats, UPI, which is India's payment infrastructure, handled around $240 billion a month, which is 80% of the country's payment transactions. Brazil's equivalent Pix does twice the size of UPI and was launched after that. So these are platforms that are disrupting the 4-party ecosystem run by Visa and MasterCard, which we know, and which are creating new interesting business models. The third theme I wanted to mention was RegTech. And we continue to see significant amount of investments going into RegTech. With the wave of digital transformation, cyber risks have emerged, which, especially in financial services, RegTechs can lower costs and can handle a lot of, basically, they are the first line of defense for many companies in financial services. To give an example, Confido, which provides AI-based identity verification, which got acquired very recently, like the last month by a US entity, they automate biometric verification speeds. They say that they basically return 95% of verification within seconds. The significantly improved speed of verification results in a much better customer experience, making the customer stay with that particular fintech, maybe Revolut or loans or whatever that is, for longer. So all in, we continue to be bullish on this sector, while the internet moment for the sector is yet to come. And as business models adapt to the new normal and execute strategies effectively, we believe it should drive growth, reacceleration, and have sustainable profitabilities, and eventually lead to high valuations for the listed companies and those companies who will eventually list. Thank you for your time.